Hi, my name is Mark Bernard. I'm a monetary economist. In this video, I want to talk about Russian oil and gas, how Ukraine cut the supply of gas going to Europe by expiring their contract, and what economic impact this all has on the geopolitical expansion of imperial czarist Russia. We're going to look at it from an economic standpoint, from the short term and the long term, and I'm going to ask you to get real about what is really going on a microeconomic level, on a factual level, not just on an armchair, cozy by the fire philosopher level. Ukraine cut this gas to Europe is primarily going through a lot of these Austro-Hungarian countries, Slovakia, but it kind of leaks its way into other areas. In Poland, we don't want Russian gas. We turned it off. Voluntarily, we don't want it, and that's the attitude you should have. And the media will say things such as, oh, Europe is fractured. It creates political turmoil. Oh, how are they going to get through the winter? That's all malarkey, okay? That's untrue. Let me tell you about gas. First of all, it does generate electricity as well as heating, but the European winters are not as hard as they have been. You do have a few weeks. And a million years of human evolution, we were living in the forest without gas, right? Primitive heating. You can survive it. I'm in Europe. I'm in northern central Europe. It's winter. Even if I turned off, it's going to be -8 Celsius tonight. Even if I turned off my heating, you know, I have tons and tons of sweaters and blankets, and I could, if I need to, I can plug in an electric heater or something like that. You will survive. And that's the reality. And then next week, it's going to warm up again. I've been in very difficult situations economically, and it has been no skin off my back to turn off the heat or turn it down. And that's the attitude you have to take. Most people will not have their gas turned off. It will have no impact. Maybe it'll be higher energy prices generally, but a lot of things are cheaper in Europe. I mean, my goodness, the minimum wage in Poland now is higher than the minimum wage in the United States of America. You've got amazing healthcare. It costs pennies to the dollar compared to America, and I love America. I'm just saying, Europe can survive and they will survive. Now, this oil and gas turned off, or this gas line, this pipeline turned off, like it goes through Ukraine. It's not the end of the Russian gas story in Europe, because you've got Turkey. And, you know, I know Turkey is our friend and ally, et cetera, and they do help Ukraine. But I don't buy anything from Turkey. I purposely avoid products, apparel and food products from Turkey, because they still have two pipelines, one going through the Black Sea in a partnership and one going directly through Turkey. It goes to the Adriatic and then to, the Balkans and maybe Italy. And then they've got the other one cutting up like Bulgaria and then to the Austro-Hungarian countries, Slovakia, Austro-Hungary. So it's not the end of the story of gas in Europe from Russia. And I think, Finland and Baltic countries are still somewhat dependent on the gas. But my goodness, we have an alternative. South Korea is producing these things called APRs 1400s. These are like these super mini nuclear power plants that go up to as short as 2 years. We have these small modular reactors, SMRs, that can go up in 5 years. Now, to power, they go up at $1 to $2 billion a pop. You put a few hundred of those up, and we're totally off, this fossil fuels. Of course, you have other problems, but nuclear power is relatively safe. We have wind, gas, alternatives, but the ultimate alternative is just, tighten your belt a notch and say, Russia is a one commodity country. It's put all its eggs in one basket. If we're serious about putting that hold of imperialism and imperialistic expansion to a stop, we have to stop relying on non-renewable resources. We have to go to renewable and different ideas and different alternatives. And it's not that bad. Because I'm in Poland. I'm here in the wintertime. And you know what? No matter how cold it gets, I can take it. And it's not like we're clipping the supply and everybody's going to be cold. That's what the media wants you to project. It just means there's other ways. You can put in a space heater or whatever, and you have electrical heat. But even as so, the point here is we want 100% of Russian soldiers out of Ukraine. None of this negotiated settlement, peace, because that results in Russification of these areas. Now, if Russia and the world, if the world was serious, and I'm talking about India and China, what would I do if I was president of the United States? I would say any country buying, the enabling countries like India and China, I would eliminate all visas from these countries. I would eliminate all trade, 500% trade barriers. If you're doing business with Russia, if you're an enabler in that sense, if you're trading gas for weapons, and, that's real to me, okay? That's keeping it real. That's not like, maybe we let Russia expand for another 1,000 years. Maybe we don't. There was a Star Trek episode. Some of you like it when I reference. It's called Taste of Armageddon. It was two cultures, like Vindikar planet, that was at war for 500 years because they didn't take it seriously. They didn't make it bite their civilization. Once people start taking things seriously, then the war stops. And what does Western civilization, world civilization, transparent democracies have to do? They have to say, no Russian oil and gas. And any country, including China and India, the great enablers that are doing that, cut all visas, send the people on visas back. And I'm sorry, because I am for free movement of labor and capital and immigration, but I'm talking about the politics here. Cut all trade with those countries, and I'm sorry, prices will go up, but we can't be. You should watch that episode, A Taste of Armageddon. You should watch that episode of the original series of Star Trek. We have to be like Captain Kirk. I wish the President of the United States was, the next one would be like Captain Kirk, but I don't think so. We need a guy like that who says it like it is. Any country trading this oil and gas and using it as a transit, even Turkey, we don't do business with them. I know it would be complex, geopolitical, prices would go up, but somehow we'd handle it. But it's a great victory for Ukraine to turn that oil and gas because it tells me that they're not going for symbolic victories. The only victory I see is 100% of the Russian troops out of Ukraine, Crimea, Donbass region. Because what they'll do is they'll occupy it like they did in Poland, and they'll try to ban Ukrainian language, or they'll try to Russify it, increase Russian language. They'll try to increase Russian Orthodoxy. My grandparents were Orthodox. They switched to Ukrainian Catholic because they didn't want to be part of that nonsense. Specifically, they told me. And that was a zillion years ago. They spoke Ukrainian because they wanted to. Even though they spoke Russian, they didn't do it. This is the attitude you have to take. You have to have a steel, and you have to keep your eye on the ball. Our objective here is to make sure that this Eurasian invasion, this North Korean and Russian invasion of Europe, the largest country in Europe, is completely reversed. And it's faster the better for our world, to make the world a better place, to make transparent democracies, to have alternative energies, to stop this climate change, etc. So that was a first good move Ukraine's done a lot of good moves, but I applaud them in that move. And anybody crying now on the media that it's going to be divisive or it's going to be difficult, it's Russia, winter in Europe, Europe is going to be the coldest winter or something. That's a can of beans. That's not true. I live in Europe. I'm a Floridian. It's wintertime. I don't even have a jacket on. I have a hoodie. I'll turn this, it's -8. I'll turn it off, the heat in my apartment. I'll just go under the blankets. It's really cozy. So don't listen to that. And that negotiated settlement, Don't listen to it. The best negotiated settlement there is. Why wouldn't you take 100% of the Russians and turn them about face back? Because that's the only attitude you have to expansionist military adventurism. Cut it off. Russia's a one commodity country, Dutch disease, resource curse, all its eggs in one basket. Let's stomp on that basket. And you Russians, you stop working at home. Be like the Poles did and rebel, or at least send money to the cause, the blue-white flag of Russia for freedom. Because I stand for all of humanity and liberty. Russians included, Ukrainians, we are all equal. My name is Mark Bernot. I'm a monetary economist. Have a great day. Thank you very much.